And we're back to learning Photoshop. Let me show you this typical letter portrait effect. It's another photo manipulation that I think is suited for beginners. It's easy to do when you know how to use a layer mask. First up, the selection of the font for this single letter is very important. And obviously the letter itself. On some letters it is a little bit harder to achieve, for example an O letter, because it's a closed shape. But on a Z letter it usually looks good. By the way, to select the font, I use the properties menu for the text layer. If you can't find that, go to window and click on properties, and then it should pop up. And here you can pick one of your insert fonts. Best ones are the serif fonts, are a little bit playful. So the more simplistic your font is, the worse it's usually going to look. And secondly, you don't want your font to be too thin. I go with this one here, Engravers MT. Then I import my image. Press Ctrl T and then you can resize it, hold Shift when you do. But also reduce opacity, that way you can see the letter in the background and you can position it a little bit better. So once you've got that repositioned, make the opacity 100% again, then hold Ctrl and click on the T icon of your letter layer. This should select the letter, switch back to the original and use the layer mask. It is going to basically clip it to the letter. But one more thing to add, you can see I've left a little bit of a gap here on the right hand side. You can fix that depending on the background of your image. Let me show you. All that you have to do is to use the color option of your letter and then sample a color from the background of your image. In this case it doesn't really work, and the reason is because the background has a gradient. So I can only fix one side and the other one will have a different color due to the gradient then. You could certainly fix that by creating a gradient yourself on the letter, but that would be a different tutorial. So my advice would be to simply size up your image far enough so that it covers your entire letter. So let me delete the layer mask here, I press Ctrl T again, and I simply size it a little bit up to the right while holding Shift. Then again hold Ctrl, click on the T icon, which selects the letter, then use the layer mask, and this solves the problem. So this is the easy way to fix it. If you don't need a specific size of your image, then just size it up far enough to cover the entire letter. We are on the layer mask now and we use the brush tool. Then we resize it to 100 and we want to use black and white. White is my foreground color now, and this brings back, if I paint over the face, these areas. Once you've got that, you have to resize your brush a little bit and then make it black. You can press X for that. It's going to swap the colors, but that's the short key. And you can see, don't overpaint it right here. So where the letter is, it's going to cause some issues. And this is why I've said we have to resize it a little bit. Then press Ctrl Z here. And now I'll go down with the brush size to maybe like 50. Again, I use a black color, which is going to conceal. If I paint over too much, I always press Ctrl Z. For example, here at the bottom, Ctrl Z. Size your brush down. Do it again with a smaller size, and that should help you in fixing these smaller details. I'm gonna go over this now step by step. Alright, we've got our masking done. Next up, right click on your letter, use the blending options, and you can use a drop shadow. For the drop shadow, I would advise you to use a black color. You can directly reposition it here on the canvas via left click and dragging. And then go down with the opacity. The spread, you want to keep it fairly low. Size also around 20 in this case. And the distance, we've already repositioned that by left clicking and dragging. Another thing that I would like to add is a stroke, and in this case I actually use the stroke of the background, so a white stroke. I'm just going to cut a little bit into the outline and the drop shadow, and in this case I think it helps. Finally, some people add text at the top and bottom. When you do that, use a simple font for that, so nothing that's bold or too playful. Stick with the simplistic one, maybe for example here Archimede Pro. Press Ctrl A to select it all, and while the move tool is active you can use the top function now to center that. And this is how you can create this letter portrait effect in Photoshop. Hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.